Welcome everyone to another Thursday evening live stream. Bitcoin saw some pretty big downside volatility recently, which has spooked a lot of people in this market. So I want to take a look at some different time frames, some different strategies I always like to go over, and so on to kind of get a better look at things and the overall health of the market. With that, as always, let's start off with the weekly chart here to get a feel for how the market's doing in general on a longer time frame. Because as crypto traders, a lot of us are very impatient, and I think it's important to kind of zoom out once in a while and take a look at what's actually happening. I mean, really, this is the weekly time frame, but does this look all that much worse than how we've been sitting the last couple of months here? Not really. Yeah, we're seeing some downside volatility, but we really haven't broken any serious structure yet. Those of you who have been tuning into these live streams on the weekly here, you'll know that I've been targeting this green box here for a little while here. I shouldn't actually say targeting, sorry. I should say that I'm leaning bullish unless that level's broken, basically. And when I say broken, I mean actually closes below that level. I think there's absolutely still a possibility that we end up just wicking down through this box a little bit and maybe even testing kind of that wick where we got rejected on the ETF approval there. I have been quite vocal about being bullish. I'll fully admit that. But like I was saying, that the trend is still healthy as long as we're holding this structure, because I was not actually considering this a confirmed higher low on the weekly chart, at least. Yes, some structure broke on some shorter time frames, even the daily, the 4 hour and stuff like that. But as far as the weekly goes, I was not considering this a higher low. I'm still considering this just because as I have mapped out here, and I've had mapped out for weeks now, we had this high and we have this higher high. I will not consider a higher high or a higher low after this until we actually break above this second red line. I should actually make that a different color here. I'm just going to remove this one. If we do end up closing a weekly candle body above this red line, I think the market's in a very beautiful position at that point, because that would just confirm that we have a higher low, a confirmed higher low, and that the trend is just basically carrying on. So until that happens, the higher low structure on the weekly for me is actually down at around 50.5, 50.6 thousand, kind of somewhere in there. But really this whole green box, anywhere from basically 53 down to 50. And like I said, maybe even a wick down to 48 or even past that. But it really depends on the candle closes, right? I mean, nobody cares all too much about where the wicks happen unless you're looking for false breaks and stuff like that. But that's more so where I would be looking for a long setup if we get down to these levels. And I'm not just going to set limit longs, because I think if we approach those levels, there's absolutely the chance that the market gets spooked. Orders get pulled, people chicken out of positions, whatever happens, just panic, full-blown panic if we drop that level at all. And, if there's low volume, we could absolutely squeeze quite aggressively. But it's more so if we get a wick down below those levels and then closing the bodies, even on shorter time frames, closing those candle bodies above those levels, specifically in this green box here. That's where I would be quite bullish, looking at it as kind of a swing fail pattern or that kind of a thing. But as it stands right now, I don't like blindly setting limit orders. Generally speaking, I like to see how the price is reacting with certain levels. So that's kind of my thoughts on the weekly. Just bringing up some of the indicators, and I went over this last week as well. The indicator is providing a little bit of confluence here as well. This is the trend collection indicator, and basically this is the buy trend, and it's been holding strong ever since we were down at like 26,000 US dollars. So just a beautiful trend we've been having. If you've been buying along that at any time or even getting near that level, very good spot buy opportunities. And that's basically right in line. Well, I shouldn't say basically, it's right in line with my green support box. And I mean, I had this mapped out based off a naked chart, but now the indicators are providing some confluence there. So obviously trends don't have to continue forever, and they won't continue forever. It will be broken eventually, but as it stands right now, the trend is your friend until the end, right? So as long as we're holding above that box, I think Bitcoin's in a fairly nice position. On the 4 hour chart here, something that's interesting with this chart is, I removed the wicks as well. I went over this last week as well. Kind of an idea I got from watching Smallio. Just looking at the candle body closes, right? Because that's what everybody cares about. And this is just one of those situations where, you know, we just kind of kept, this is the 4-hour chart, you guys. We just kept closing, you know, higher highs, higher highs, higher highs. And then we actually technically had one right here as well, right? We closed above, pulled back, and closed above again. And then we broke that structure right here. And that's kind of where the swing just changed directions, right? We got a serious correction to the downside, and then notice where we end up topping out after that. It's retesting that level absolutely perfectly. I know Smallio posted a absolutely fantastic short little 10-minute video about kind of looking at market structure that way and looking at swings. Definitely check it out if you haven't seen it yet. But this is one of those examples where we just pulled right up to, you know, this is that level, that kind of that order block, whatever, where we had that bit of structure and we ended up losing that, and look where we end up topping out, right? Not only that, but you'll notice that quite often that fits into my personal favorite trading strategy, and that's looking for those Stuber fib pullbacks, right? So if we do something like that, I'm actually just going to delete these old lines here, look straight up at the Stuber. I mean, you can see that just absolutely perfect. We just went barely above the 886 there. But you guys know I like laddering in at these levels when I am looking for some sort of a Stuber setup. So absolutely beautiful right there, as just added confirmations, right? You'll see those things line up quite often, is when a swing kind of changes directions. Quite often where they end up lining up also lines up around those Fibonacci levels. So just something to watch for there as well, right? Just looking for that confluence. So beautiful thing there. Interesting thing to see now is I'm kind of seeing the opposite here. Here, let me just make a little line here. Is actually, just go into the structure here. As you can see that we had this low here. We actually set a lower low, another lower low, another lower low, lower low. So this is actually kind of the same, looking at the same thing as what I just did, but on the opposite, right? I'm looking at where the swing kind of changed directions here. And there's something to be said about this structure right here that I'm looking at. It just looks like, you know, we ended up setting that low, that lower low. We have that confirmed lower high. And from there, we got that break. Yeah, we pulled back a little bit and then blasted off so far. Obviously, this is a very small move. There is definitely some downside momentum. So, you know, if we end up losing this low here, then yeah, absolutely. I think there's reason to believe that we end up just nuking a little bit further. And another level that I was watching here, let me clean up this weekly chart again. Another thing I wanted to point out on the weekly here is, here, let's just map out again that horizontal support level to watch for. As well, you guys know that I do like diagonal trend lines. I know not everybody does. I like exact touch points of wicks and that kind of thing. So let's just look for a couple different trend lines here. You know, like trend lines, I understand why people don't necessarily like them, because a lot of times you have to modify them. You know, if the price wicks down below, then I like to adjust my lines and that sort of thing. I prefer horizontal levels and Fibonacci's and, you know, confluence with indicators and stuff like that. But once in a while, I don't mind looking for diagonal trend lines as well. Again, just adding a little bit of extra confluence, right? So just looking for some potential levels of support, just looking for random trend lines. You know, we could be looking at a couple different levels like that, right? We drop the diagonal, we still have horizontal support, we end up dropping that. I mean, we definitely could drop quite a bit lower from there. This is also the logarithmic scale, so I want to take a look, actually, at a not logarithmic. Oh, although I don't have wicks on here. 1 second, wicks, boom. Let's remove everything here. And yes, let's just see if this ends up lining up a little bit different. Horizontal support, same thing, obviously. And so that does actually change it a little bit. And it actually, this is one thing that I really like. You know, if we do end up continuing to sell off, let's say that 4-hour structure I just showed you doesn't end up holding, and we just dump right through it. There's just so many things on weekly time frames lining up with these levels, that I just think there's a lot of things pointing to this lower structure level, right? What's the core trend saying? Core trend actually might be flipping. Well, it's flipping a little bit neutral right now. Gonna have to see how that ends up playing out. Core trend, I personally, I've looked at it once in a while. I don't use it on a regular basis like I do with the trend dynamic and trend collection. But either way, on the weekly time frame, there's just so many things lining up with this area down here. Obviously, it can be front run. We might have reversed the 4-hour trend already, and that turns into a longer trend, and we end up setting new highs. Whatever, the market will give us whatever it gives us. We don't really have a say in it at the end of the day. The market does not give a shit how we feel about it, does not give a shit about our opinions. It's going to do what it's going to do. So if it reverses here, yeah, great. But if not, I just think that there's so much support down here yet. We end up nuking right through this level, even just getting closes below it and then looking for, that support resist flip. Yeah, the market could be in a scary situation if that happens, but it hasn't happened yet. So let's just see what happens with that support if we do end up getting there. Zooming right in here. I just kind of want to go over both my positions that I have open right now. I entered this long down here. This was based off a Stuber fib. You can see that I kind of mapped out my points of interest here. This is just another one of those things where... Here, let me just actually zoom out a little bit. We ended up getting a beautiful pullback there. So there was actually a Stuber fib pull that would have happened sooner, and it would have hit TP1, maybe TP2, depends how much I would have front run it there. But since we got that nice reaction there, and since we did break this little downtrend as well, kind of same thing, right? Lower low, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. We broke that level, so that's where I start pulling my fib, and I'm looking for that 786, 886 retrace. So I entered basically right along the 786. I front run it a little bit, generally speaking. I had showed this morning, I believe, in the Bitcoin chart as well. But after that, on the 3-minute, we just basically kept setting higher lows and using the auto charting tools as Confluence for that. Also, I love using it when looking for Fibonacci pulls and stuff like that. The higher low to the higher high was just a perfect fib pull, came right back to the Stuber pocket and basically took off from there. So love using that as Confluence. And yeah, like I said, that auto charting tool is just higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. So that structure has actually changed now. Which is what led me to take a little bit of a short position. So I still have a chunk of my long. I only have about a quarter of it open yet at this point. Because any position I take, guys, including that one I took the other day, I did take that one I publicly announced. I did take a small loss on that, but I did downsize my position before that. I was taking profits along the way. I closed, I can't remember if it was a quarter or half my position as soon as we lost 5-minute structure, even though I was taking the position on a more of an hourly, 4-hour kind of chart. Any position that I personally enter, since I typically use higher leverage, right now I'm only on 10x, which is small for me. Usually I'm doing like 25 or 69, whatever. Right now I'm only using 10x leverage just because things are quite volatile. But any position I take, I am quick to close the first half of my position. I always treat them like a scalp. That's just me personally. Scalping is not for everybody. I want to be clear about that. I would say most people swing trade better than scalp trading, but some of us do scalp better than swing trading. So I love to close half my position quite quickly, updating my stop loss to break even, just so that I can relax. Basically, when I have a position open on a swing, myself personally, I can't really relax if I have margin on the line and I'm just waiting several days. And I know that's the opposite of how most people think, that most people want to kind of set it and forget it. I personally can't relax when I do that, so I'm better at scalping, where I get in start downsizing quickly, and then I hope to catch a swing with the other part of my position, guys. I'm never going all in, all out at one price, basically. I'm always willing to ladder in and ladder out of my positions, especially because that's just one of those things where, you know, it's important to not look for those home run trades because, I mean, you're going to get wrecked if you do. But it's important to also be able to take them when you do catch them. And that's where, you know, I like to pay myself and reduce risk with the first half. And then after that, if I catch a runner, great. You know, if this short ends up getting stopped out and the rest of my long position carries on, great. At this point, I don't care what happens. I'd actually prefer that I get stopped out on this hedge short. But basically, my reason for taking this short is, again, I have mapped out how I did my Stuber fibs here. Basically, we were just setting a uptrend here, higher highs. So this was our higher low. And we end up breaking that structure, setting a lower low. So then I'm pulling my Fibonacci from the highest point down to where the structure ended up going down to, and then basically looking for that pullback. I was kind of late to seeing this, so I did enter a little bit below my 786, but I'm totally fine with that. It's just a little hedge anyways, like I said. But that's my reasoning for taking that, just because there's this potential structure change on the 3-minute chart here. On top of that, this purple line is a 4-hour trend line I had mapped out. I see it was slightly off there. It might have moved very slightly from switching time frames. But basically, I've been looking at this range. Let me just remove a few things here for you guys. This purple range is kind of what I was pointing out in the pro signals and why I took a long back here, because I was hoping to catch this range. Whatever, it was a tight stop loss on that rest of the position, like I mentioned. Not too upset about that or anything. But now that we end up coming up to this level after failing that support, I'm just looking at it as, hey, you know, we're failing that structure on the 3-minute and we're coming up to that 4-hour old support level. Might flip into resistance here. So just a couple of things going for a bearish scenario. That's why I don't mind taking a little bit of a hedge there. But you know what? If we reclaim this level and end up taking off to the upside, I'm okay with that too, because that would still be a beautiful move. You know, at 10x leverage, nothing wrong with that. If we do end up testing the top of the range again, obviously doesn't have to happen, and I'll be taking profits along the way if I don't get stopped out here. So it won't be my whole position or anything like that. If I get up here, there's going to be a very small amount left. However, that being said, guys, like I went over already, I am more of a scalper. So realistically, I'm going to be in and out of positions if we end up reclaiming this range. It's not like me to just sit on the sidelines for too long. So yeah, how do you guys feel about market structure? Like, I know, again, I think it's very important to get a good grasp on horizontal levels, because I think they're more important. Like Smallio went over, you know, spotting those swing changes and stuff like that. I would say the most important thing you can learn for technical analysis. But after that, I personally don't mind looking at diagonals, and I kind of treat them more so like what I do. You can see I had an alert set at this level because I want to see, you know, if these levels are tested. I'll actually do another one right here. If we end up testing to the top of that, you know, Bitcoin 4-hour resistance test, and it'll go every single minute if we touch that, because, you know, if we just break through, close above, whatever, yeah, I'll just see what happens. But if we end up getting, you know, just testing this level on shorter time frames and getting some kind of a swing fail, you know, I'd be interested in shorting the retest of that in that case. But, you know, there's a lot of time between now and then if it does happen. For now, we're just going to have to see what happens here. Oh, I do have this weekly line mapped out as well on this chart, this white line here. So again, just another reason why, you know, if we do flip this level into resistance now, why I think we could drop a little bit further. And look at that. It actually, you know, just on a quick little freehand here, it would line up very nicely with the resistance back here around that, 53 down towards 50K, kind of like what I was just talking about when looking at the weekly, right? So a lot of things kind of lining up with those areas. You like my style to scalp quick trade? Yeah, and honestly, I want to be clear about this, you guys. Generally speaking, scalping is dangerous. It causes people to overtrade, revenge trade, over leverage, all those bad habits we're not supposed to do. So it is important to have your emotions intact if you're going to do that. Generally speaking, most people trade the larger time frames better, like the 4 hour, the 1 hour, stuff like that. Plus, there's just more time to react, right? Because if you're planning a trade on a 1 minute chart, you might only have a minute to get into that position. If a level's tested that I'm interested in taking a position, I might only have 30 seconds to get into a decent price on that position. They can change so quickly, and those ranges, like when I'm scalping, I'm playing the range first and looking for the breakout second. And some of those ranges are quite small, so you have to be very quick. And unfortunately, a lot of people also get greedy and think, oh, I entered this beautiful position on the 1 minute. I'm hoping for a really big move, but it turns out the entry they took is based on a really small range or something, and then hoping for a home run, right? So just a few errors that people can make. And I know I touch on this pretty much every week as well, is that I'm going to say the hardest part about trading is clicking that take profit button. Everybody gets very greedy. It's very difficult. Anybody can get into a position that starts out in a profit. It's holding on to that or taking it before that changes to the red color that most people struggle with, right? So, yeah, just something to consider. And, when you're trying to trade the 1 minute, for example, I know a rule of thumb that I always have in the back of my mind is, if about 10 candles, it doesn't that way, I'm not saying a time frame, I'm saying the amount of candles. So I remember to play whatever time frame I'm playing. If there's been about 10 candles passed since I got my entry, I need to start thinking about how the chart looks. I shouldn't be in a position for days if I'm entering on a 1 minute, right? I kind of, there's a good chance I'm taking, the first quarter off the table in the first few minutes, really. So something to consider if you're looking at scalping shorter time frames, right? Market structure is the main one for me. Smallio taught me trend lines are not for me. Yeah, absolutely. And Smallio's videos and explanations of market structure were absolutely phenomenal. So like I said, anyone here, it was posted in the pro signals and stuff like that. Absolutely amazing video. Well worth watching a dozen times, kind of a thing. No fear taking profit, just want to make it. Yeah, the thing is, after, when you take profits and you think that you just are reading the chart, like there's nothing you can do wrong, kind of a thing, that's usually when something's bad's going to happen. And often a lot of people will start getting greedy when they start feeling like that and stop taking profits and then end up in a bad cycle that way. Just something to be cautious of. TP is the 1% out of the 99% mental part of this game. Yeah. Did I show the log weekly chart? Yes, I did. That would have been right at the start of the video. I was talking on that was the log chart. Could I talk through my TP system for a Stuber fib? Maybe using the short trade you just opened as an example. Absolutely. I'll get to that in 1 second. Let me just load it up. There's 3 tokens you like, the rest marriage and divorce them. Absolutely. Don't get emotionally attached to these things. Generally speaking, most of it's trash. Okay, as far as looking for TPs, I'll start with that long position that I took, just because on this short, I'm not actually looking at taking a TP yet. And I'll explain why in a second here, but let me just clean things up a little bit. So basically this is that trade setup that I had. And so basically my first two TPs, generally speaking, depends how I feel on the market. Sometimes I will change, and like, you know, if I'm just trying to scalp a quick bounce or something, I'll close half my position at my TP1. But generally speaking, I like to close about a quarter at my TP1 level and my TP2 level. And my fibs, so TP1 for me is just the 0.5 fib. That's just basically getting back to the middle of the range that I am playing, right? However, I have my range pulled. This is the range I'm playing. And like I said, I'm playing the range first with the first half of my position and looking for that breakout trade after that, right? So the middle of the range is my first take profit. The second one, you'll notice it's a weird number, 0.214. Basically, my reasoning for that is I'm trying to look for something very close to what the reversal Stuber fib would be. For example, if I get rid of this one, and I would be looking for where we are. Actually, here, let me undo that. Let me just map out where this 214 line is. Let's just make it green so that we know that's our take profit too. So basically what I'm looking at then is looking for whatever's close to a 786 pulled the opposite direction, right? Just kind of thinking, hey, you know, if I'd be interested in taking a short from a Stuber fib, maybe that's a good take profit instead. So you can see how close when I pull that from swing high here down to where it bottomed. You can see just how close that is to the 786. So that's kind of my reasoning for that number. And that was 0.214. Not saying it works out every time. And I do usually front run those levels as well. But that's where those numbers come from. Hopefully that makes sense. My reasoning for not really setting a TP yet for this position is because I'm okay if it gets stopped out, if we blast off through here, because I have this long position. So this is more of a hedge, so I'm not as antsy to start closing it, and I'm okay if it goes the other way. You know, if all of a sudden on, you know, the 3 minute here, we start breaking immediate market structure, like if we end up, let's say, coming back down to this level here, you know, set a lower low like that, lower low, and then break some sort of structure like this. In that case, I would consider closing half of my hedge, just because, hey, there's a potential change in structure here. I'm just going to pay myself a little bit. But again, I would still let some run just to see what happens with the rest. Hopefully that makes sense. Let me know if you need anything else explained. So far, that hedge was a good idea. You know, we're about halfway through here, even a little further. So why don't we take a little break from Bitcoin? Let's just see what happens over the next few minutes here. And let's take a look at some shitties. Everyone's favorite. Let's look at some meme coins, Solana meme coins, base meme coins. I know this is one that's been fairly popular in the group in the micro alts chat. I had mentioned, this would have been, when was it, a week or so ago, that I was looking at buying back because I'm kind of trying to coin build with this one. Just another way of trading, just rather than having to buy more coins, I'm looking to sell, you know, on a break of structure, selling and rebuying. And I had mentioned in the group that I was looking at rebuying near the 786. So that is what I did. And so that one's seeing a nice little recovery so far, basically right off the Stuber fibs here. Let's I can actually adjust this very slightly, but that would be the pull, and yeah, basically bounced right off the 786. So you can see that even you know, coins with a $2 million market cap only are respecting those fib levels. So it's just such a beautiful thing when you start to notice those fib pockets being respected. Brett, on any particular exchange, or is that like on Solana or base? On base. That would be this guy right here. Launched about 2 months ago. Just want to make sure I'm on the right one because there's obviously a ton of them. Yeah, let's see what this one's going on. I know I've heard a lot about this one in the past, so we got some... Oh, it looks like I was looking at it at one point. All right, what do we got going on here? At this immediate trend here, what do we got for fib here? That doesn't look quite like a 786. Oh, bang on the 786. So, you know, as far as if this is going to correct, I mean, that is a nice little level here. One thing that I don't like... just looking at this immediate trend, taking a closer look here, this is kind of like, this is obviously our lowest low. Our lower low before that is actually this level here. Which means that our lower high is here. And we actually got a swing fail at that level. Rather than getting, you know, I'd feel a lot better about that Fibonacci level if we closed candle bodies above this level and then pulled back here. I personally would feel a little bit different about it. To me, that looks like a bit of a rejection. I mean, I think it strongly depends what the market does in general. I have not followed this coin or anything like that, so I don't know, maybe it's... like maybe there's something good going on fundamentally or anything. I have no idea, right? But just looking at it, that's just one red flag that I'm seeing right now. But like I said, sometimes those fib levels, like, they don't necessarily need that structure break, right? Like, if they're just going to do a healthy correction and bounce, you know, that if you're just looking for a pullback to buy kind of a thing, yeah, you know, better to be spot buying at a pullback like that rather than, you know, as soon as you see it start blowing to the upside here and FOMOing in way up here, right? So at least there is some sort of a pullback there to, you know, a fairly common respected area sort of thing. Let's zoom out a little further. There, what kind of a time frame can I look at here? You know, what's interesting is I like the structure on the 4 hour. You know, we at least got some closes above that level. And then, like I said, we have that pullback. So I'm kind of getting a little bit of mixed signals. I don't know. It's just a little bit scary, right? It is at a nice pullback zone. It is at the 786 fib, or it recently had tested it. So it doesn't look all too bad. I would like to see a break of some sort of a diagonal trend line as well. Maybe something like that. Something else to watch for, right? If we do bounce, just be cautious that there is potential resistance up ahead as well. But, you know, if this could, I would actually like to see it get rejected once more. If it was, you know, absolutely perfect like that and then breaking above and kind of retesting that resistance as support, I think that would actually be a beautiful thing. But just a few things to be cautious of, right? Oh, Simon, welcome back. Hopefully you're feeling okay. Yeah, hopefully 4 hour on Brett. I mean, I could zoom out to the daily, but I don't know. That might be too much. Okay, here's something interesting, actually. Sometimes it is good to zoom out, right? On the daily, this was our high. So we actually higher high. So our confirmed higher low is actually way down here. So if we look at the daily like this, that's probably a perfect, basically right into the middle of that pocket, right? We're sitting right between the 786, 886. So that's interesting. The only thing about this is obviously on the daily, that's a big move for invalidation, basically right down to all-time lows, because generally when I'm looking for a Stuber fib, I use the 1.15 as invalidation, which is about 70% away. So take it for what it is. There is potential support here if you're basing it off that kind of structure at least. Here, let me just map this out. Just kind of looking at something like that as far as the confirmed higher low on the daily chart. So we're actually quite close to that level. That's interesting. Yeah, what else? A couple other meme coins I've been looking at. Chonk is one that I was looking at. This is also on base. $458,000 market cap, so quite small. Same thing, we had this little pullback, kind of found support right in the 786, 886 on the 1 hour chart here. There is also Thick, is also basically another project on the Chonk chain. They basically I actually minted a few of these just to try it out. I had actually never minted an NFT before April 20th when I got bored and decided to try it. But yeah, I made a Thickum NFT, or a few of them rather. And basically, to my understanding, they basically made this to kind of show how the Chonk network works. And they're basically with the Thick token. You guys know I'm not generally into fundamentals, but since I wanted to play with it and figure out NFTs a little more this cycle and stuff like that, I've had several NFTs in the past that I've had listed for months and I've never had a bid on. And yeah, they're whatever, they're cheap ones and shit like that with no community, whatever. But something interesting is they're basically making a hybrid between tokens and NFTs. So you can basically liquidate your NFT for 1 billion of their tokens. So depending what the token price is, that will determine kind of the, I guess technically kind of the floor price of your NFTs. So just a little bit of an interesting project there. And then I want to get into the real degen shit here. Yeah, just on 420. Exactly. Had lots of good ideas flowing that day. I want to go into, actually, this was also a 420 idea, was me and a couple boys bought some of this. Rub it. This is as degen as it gets. I actually posted this in the micro chat group yesterday, and it's up almost 80% since that already. Tiny market cap, like 18,000. When I posted this in the chat, it was around 10 or 11,000. So obviously not the kind of thing you put any serious money behind. But you know what? This thing is basically worthless, and they're still posting memes on Twitter and that sort of thing. So I was like, what the hell? We're going to just roll the dice. So very small position in that, but kind of funny that since I bought and posted that, it's actually gaining a little traction. But see what happens here. That's obviously one of those very small position size, hoping for a mega reward just because the market cap is so small, right? As I said, it does not get more degen than this. But you know what? Even though it pumped and dumped, it was not a straight up rug pull, and there is signs of life. So if it survived, they're still posting memes, whatever. I'm just swinging very small position, like I said. Yeah, what else? Let's go check on Bitcoin here. Not a lot has changed since we switched. Yeah, anything in particular you guys want me to check out? I am actually, I haven't brought up the indicators yet on the 3-minute chart here in our degen shit here. Scalp Master, I just started using this a little more. Actually, yeah, notice it's telling if as far as a short from these levels. Actually, that's funny. I did not look at this indicator at all, but it obviously has similar thoughts to me. I was looking at a short right at the same level. Stop loss, mine's actually a little bit looser, but basically the same thing. I think mine's 59777 rather than 717. And kind of looking at the bottom here for you know, some sort of structure change to look at start taking profits. So maybe I will close a little bit there. Auto charting tools, kind of mixed signals. We did get a higher high after the lower low. So, you know, just something else to be a little bit cautious of there if we do start breaking an immediate downtrend kind of thing. What else do we have here? It really looks like this trend collection indicator is trying to roll over. We're starting to see, you know, lower trending W's here, slightly lower W's here, getting back below that buy trend, although it is still technically a higher buy signal. So that's good, but just that it looks a little bit weak here, we might actually end up seeing a lower sell signal come into play here too, which would just give me additional confluence and confidence in that hedge short. Interesting. Yeah. Let's take a look at some longer time frames and see what they're saying as well. Let's look at the 4 hour. 4 hours still showing some downside momentum. We have lower buy signals, lower sell signals. W's on the top are trending to the downside. W's on the bottom are trending to the downside. So a few things to be cautious of there on the 4 hour. Obviously still showing some momentum. So just another reason I don't mind having a little bit of a hedge short open at this time. $1,200 BTC order in trading light from 57,800 down to 57.8k to 58k as buy orders. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so there might be support, in which case, I mean, I would love to see my long position carry on. Contract number, are you thinking well, I'll post all the ones that I was looking at. I'll share them all in the chat. Rub the thing. Here, I'll oops. By the way, guys, this is obviously not financial advice. It does not get more gambly than this. I want to be very clear on this. I fully expect this to go to zero any day. But, like I said, small market cap, not a straight up rug, signs of life, memes on their Twitter, you can follow them. So you know what? I'm willing to gamble once in a while. Obviously small position size, like I said. Jerome, the Joe Ram Puwell. I saw that one went nuts yesterday before the meeting, or the day before, or whatever, leading up to it. I totally forgot about that coin. I ended up closing out of mine a long time ago. I think I still got some Obima. Let's check out some Obima. Burek Obima. Ooh. Signs of life. This one's only a 660k market cap. I've talked about this one on my streams quite a bit, actually. Yeah, I was usually looking at little 4 hour wedges and shit on my streams. It's looking like it's trying to curl to the upside. We'll see what happens. That's another one of those. I just can't resist the stupid pleb face politician ones. Actually, one trend line that I want to look for on a bigger scale would be looking at the breakouts from the bigger ones. What I would love to see on something like this would be, again, just a third exact touch point, because you guys, I talk about this quite often too. When I'm looking at diagonal trend lines or breaks of patterns, I typically like 3 exact touch points, and I personally like wicks. I like exact wicks. That's why I have my 1 touch point, 2 touch point. I would love to see a 3rd touch point followed by a breakout. If we just break out this 3rd attempt here, like we just do something like this, I'm going to think it's a lot more likely that the rally gets shut down sooner than later. Not saying it has to. Anything can happen, obviously. But just me personally, I love to see a third exact touch point and then break and retest that level. That's when I'm starting to see some strength. So we're going to have to see what happens here. What can I look at for horizontal here? Basically, if we, I would say kind of break above that horizontal level, I think it would also be great, because breaking out of a fairly long consolidated range, where did we basically start this from? Kind of beginning of April. So there's a lot of coiling up here, just a lot of testing that resistance. So if we break that as well as the diagonal line, there just might be some pressure there, right? What else? What's Bitcoin doing here? Oh, we can see this buy trend is starting to try and flip blue again, so we might see a lower buy signal come into play here. And remember, guys, this is only the 3-minute chart, so take it for what it is. Keeping thoughts to yourself on the rubbit. Yeah. Hilarious. I just like the memes. Maybe you guys have seen, what is it? Nub? It's that quite popular cat meme. Basically on theirs, they're just like repeatedly killing it. It's the rub rabbit just killing it over and over. I think they actually got banned from their Twitter. It's pretty funny. Oh, meme coin culture is too funny. Yeah, I don't personally have anything else I really wanted to go over with you guys. We've been going close to an hour here. If anyone has any last minute requests, I can absolutely shoot. Just look at anything. I am gonna just kind of watch this for the next few minutes with you guys. We'll kind of see what happens. But if you want me to look at anything, I'm just kind of babysitting these few positions at this point. Still have this sell trend as well, like I said, on the 4-hour. Ooh, a sell signal on the daily. That just happened, well, basically exactly 24 hours ago. That's interesting. We haven't had a sell signal on the daily since August. That's interesting. I will say this. The W's here are still trending to the upside. And as well, we have this diagonal support. We have that horizontal support. Like I said, it's a higher sell signal as well, so they are still trending to the upside. So we could, if we very quickly get a new higher buy signal on the daily trend, I'm going to get very bullish again. Oh, level 18. Congrats. Someone bought. Attaboy. Let the degen flow. No such thing as financial advice on the rubby. Don't buy too much, you'll push the price up on yourself. It's pretty funny. I think I literally, well, I guess I'm pretty sure I own more than 1% of the supply of this thing, actually. And that was not a big order. Be careful with stuff like this, guys. You know, I'm as degenerate as they come. I like trading with high leverage on the 1 minute, and I love stupid low cap memes and stuff. But understand that, you know, on shit like this, just be aware of the risks. Just assume worst case scenario, and very likely it goes right to zero. What memes am I in? On base, my memes are Chonk, Thick, and Roost. Let me look at my Solana wallet. I forget what kind of trash I've got in there. I've got DFTU, don't fuck this up. I've got Rocky, Cheddar, Bareko Bima, Rub the Rubbit, Bonk with Hat, Solana, a couple that I'm not going to say publicly. Some that I had a good laugh as I was uploading them to taxes. Later, Simon. Take care, my dude. Yeah, hit me up with the DM there, Simon. Anyways, guys, I think that's about all I had to go over. Hell, let's give it 1 or 2 more candles here on the 3 minute. Let's see what the 1 minute's doing. Let's get exciting here, guys. Thanks for joining again, Arash. Hopefully I'm saying that right. This winter, plan for Montreal. Ooh, you know, I haven't been to Montreal yet, but I love a fucking poutine. And snowboarding. I love poutine and snowboarding. Might have to make a trip out. Oh, look at this on the 1 minute. Technically that wasn't a lower sell signal. W's are starting to trend to the downside though. Sell trend still holding here. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to leave my hedge for now. But like I said, we break. Oh, there it is. Lower sell signal on the 3 minute. So yeah, we'll see what happens here, guys. Anyways, you know my thought process on why I took that hedge. And remember, it is a hedge because I was already in a long position here. So other than that, guys, I think that's about it. So hopefully you guys found this stream useful. For those of you watching this on my YouTube channel a little later, if you're interested in some of my favorite indicators plus access to the VIP Discord with live streams such as these put on not only by myself but also a handful of other very knowledgeable traders in the group, I've got some links in the description down below, discounts and so on. As well, if you need a no KYC exchange to get your DGen on, I have links for that as well down below. So with that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.